So here it is, the list of the 12 bad foods that I don't want anyone to look at, let alone eat. Are you ready? By the way, this is the last time that you will like me. Wheat, barley, rye, oats. That's right, whole grains. Wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Bad dog, no biscuit. Oil in a bottle, fried food. Meat cooked well done. Meat that has nitrates added as preservatives. The skins of baked potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes. A carbonated beverage with a meal. Carbonated beverages with a meal. I don't care if it's Perrier, sparkling water, beer, club soda, or champagne. If it has bubbles in it, do not drink it with a meal. Soy and corn. That's right, soy and corn. These foods are bad. Bad for the human body. And if you eat these foods, it's only a matter of time until the net negative effects that they generate in your body add up and something breaks. Very much like the straws that broke the camel's back. If you unwittingly consume food that's hurting your body every single day, it's only a matter of time until something goes wrong. One of the biggest myths that's persistent in the popular culture of the 21st century is the myth of the whole grain. Wheat, barley, rye, and oats contain a protein called gluten. And gluten is bad for most human beings. Why? Because the gluten molecule is a protein made of amino acids which are daisy-chained together. And amino acids are essential nutrients. The body needs them, can't make them. Amino acids are essential for health. It's the job of your stomach to break apart the amino acids inside the gluten protein, liberating the amino acids, giving your body access to the amino acids that make up gluten. But the chemical bonds that hold the amino acids together inside of the gluten protein are very difficult, if not impossible, for your stomach acid to digest. Now, most people have weak stomach acid anyway, and this just compounds, exaggerates the factor. So most people, when they swallow wheat, barley, rye, or oats, the gluten protein becomes undigested. And instead of individual amino acids entering into the small intestine to be absorbed into the bloodstream, you get long chains of intact, connected amino acids. And when your small intestine attempts to absorb the undigested long chains of amino acids, that causes a lot of problems. The tissue in the intestinal tract, which is responsible for absorbing nutrients, becomes damaged. It's kind of like if a vacuum cleaner with a bristle brush is trying to vacuum up a string of pearls. The string of pearls is going to jam up the gears. But if the bristle vacuum attempts to suck up individual pearls on the carpet, it can do that no problem. Similar circumstance here in the small intestine, which leads to one of life's greatest ironies. Consistent consumption of whole grains will hurt you. Not only does it hurt you directly by damaging tissue in the body, but it hurts you indirectly because the tissue that it damages is responsible for absorbing nutrients. The more whole grains you eat, the less able your body is to absorb nutrients into the bloodstream. And because all chronic diseases are directly related to nutrient deficiencies, the more whole grains you eat, the more likely you are to suffer with a chronic disease. Wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Stop eating them now. Next on the list, oil and fried food. Oil oxidizes. If you look at an olive oil bottle, a canola oil bottle, a flaxseed bottle, any type of oil in a bottle, between the top of the oil and the top of the bottle, there's an air gap. Air contains oxygen. And as the oil sits in the bottle, it is becoming oxidized. The longer it's in the bottle, the more oxidized it becomes. And when you pour that oil onto a cooking surface, a fry pan or a wok, for instance, you heat the oil, it oxidizes within minutes. When you introduce an oxidized substance into the human body, you create inflammation. Inflammation, low levels of low-grade, constant inflammation, which, again, like the straws that broke the camel's back, add insult to injury. And it's only a matter of time until your system can't handle that anymore and something breaks. When you fry food, this process becomes accelerated remarkably. Oil heated in a fryolator creates a molecule in the food which is fried called acrylamide. So when you deep fry a piece of chicken, deep fry a potato, deep fry anything that has a protein in it, acrylamide is formed. What's wrong with acrylamide? Well, I thought you might never ask. It's carcinogenic. Now, when you look at a map of the United States, county by county of life expectancies, the people in the United States that have the shortest life expectancies live in the South, the old Confederate South. They have the same doctors, the same education, the same water, the same hospitals, the same everything that everybody else in the United States has. So why do they have the shortest life expectancies? I'll tell you why. Because in the United States, in the South, below the Mason-Dixon line, fried food is a religion. Fried food for breakfast, fried food for lunch, fried food for dinner. It's just part of the cultural ethos. The more fried food you eat, the shorter your life will be, because you're introducing cancer-causing substances, inflammatory-causing substances into your body all of the time. And that's not a good idea. I know that Dr. Oz told you to drink olive oil, but Dr. Oz is a medical doctor trained in cardiovascular surgery. If you are attempting to understand the meat and potatoes of medical nutrition, no oil in a bottle. That means no salad dressing, no cooking oil, certainly no fried food. I don't even want you to be downwind of fried food. Eliminate them completely. On salads, you can use vinegar, you can use lemon juice, you can use salt and pepper. And now at health food stores, you can find salad dressing which is oil-free. And if you'd like to cook something in a fry pan, no harm, no foul, use butter or lard, not Crisco. Lard is rendered animal fat, rendered goose fat, rendered duck fat, rendered pork fat, rendered beef fat. Like the French, cook with lard, cook with butter, use salt, live long, and prosper. Next on the list, red meat cooked well done. You will read research every once in a while that relates directly the consumption of red meat to higher incidences of cancer, especially colon cancer. Well, our argument is it's not the meat. It's what's in the meat or how the meat is cooked. When you cook red meat well done, you cook it through and through, a chemical is created called a heterocyclic amine. And heterocyclic amines cause inflammation and cancer. If you cook red meat rare or medium rare, there are less heterocyclic amines. So cancer-causing substances, it only makes sense, are smart things to stay away from. If you are a meat lover, a meat eater, then cook your meat rare or medium rare. And if you use a grill, wrap it in aluminum foil, because the grill marks on the steak are not only carbon, but they're heterocyclic amines. So avoid that noise and optimize the structure and function of your body moving forward. It's not the meat, it's how it's cooked or what's in it, which leads us to the next thing on the list, meat that has nitrates added as preservatives. Deli ham, deli turkey, bacon, pepperoni, sausage. There are a lot of meats which the butcher injects nitrates into to keep the meat looking nice and red in the deli case. Only problem with nitrates, when they're heated, they turn into a chemical called a nitrosamine, which is carcinogenic. So our recommendation, avoid meat that's been injected with nitrates. This is easier than you think. If you shop at Whole Foods, all the meat that's available in a Whole Foods marketplace is nitrate free. If you have a local butcher, tell your butcher that you have an allergy to nitrates. You don't. But if your butcher thinks you're allergic to it, then he will make sure the meat that he or she sells you will be nitrate free. No nitrates, no cancer, no inflammation. Get it? Got it? Good. Next on the list, the skins of baked potatoes, yams, or sweet potatoes. You know when the skins get nice and crispy because they're twice baked or thrice baked, right? Well, the skin of the potato, when it gets crunchy and crispy like that, is loaded by virtue of the heating process with heterocyclic amines. Heterocyclic amines, now you know, cause cancer and inflammation. So if you want to eat a potato, a yam, or a sweet potato that has a crispy crust, crispy skin, don't eat the skin. You can eat the potato part, but not the skin. If you'd like to eat the skin, then you can boil the potato, yam, or sweet potato, or put them in a crock pot. When the skin is crunchy and crispy, you must not eat it. I mean, if you breathed in asbestos every day, it's only a matter of time until you get mesothelioma, right? If you work in a coal mine without a mask, it's only a matter of time until you get black lung. So stop eating food that's gumming up the works. Stop eating food that's hurting you. And you're going to go a long way towards supporting and promoting your body's ability to fix itself. Carbonated beverage with a meal. Why is that, Dr. Glidden? Well, the bubbles in your carbonated beverage. By the way, I don't care if it's beer, champagne, soda water, Perrier, sparkling water, ginger ale, soda pop, anything at all that has bubbles in it. The bubbles are carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide has an interesting property. It reduces acidity. It neutralizes acids. Carbon dioxide neutralizes acids. So when you drink something with bubbles in it during a meal, you're neutralizing the stomach acid in your stomach. And this is not a good idea. In a healthy stomach, your stomach acid should be so strong that if you chopped off a finger and swallowed it, your stomach would digest it down to the bone. Your stomach is a bag of acid. The stronger the acid, the better. But when you drink a carbonated beverage immediately before or during a meal, you impede the digestive process of the stomach by neutralizing the stomach acid. Most people have weak stomach acid anyway, because in order to have strong stomach acid, you must be salting your food liberally. Your body needs the chloride that's in the salt to make strong hydrochloric acid. And you also need calcium in order to have the acid squirted into the stomach from the chief cells in the stomach. Chief cells make the hydrochloric acid and they squirt them out into the stomach. If you're calcium deprived, deficient in the trace mineral calcium, the introduction of hydrochloric acid into the stomach will be compromised. Now, most people have been told by their medical doctor to be on a salt-restricted diet, and most people are deficient in calcium. So most people's stomach acid is weak to begin with, and then when you pour a carbonated beverage into the stomach on top of weak acid, it's super weak, and you're not going to digest hardly anything out of your food. Soy and corn. That's right, soy and corn. These are recent additions to the list. Previous to October 2015, we considered 10 bad foods. We have recently added corn and soy to the list, and here is why. Corn and soy are amongst the most genetically modified, genetically engineered foods available on planet Earth, and they are abundantly, copiously, profusely sprayed with an herbicide called Roundup the scientific name for which is glyphosate. Recent data released by the World Health Organization, of all places, the World Health Organization, classifies Roundup as a carcinogen, a cancer-causing agent, and research also links directly the use of genetically engineered food, the consumption of genetically engineered corn and genetically engineered soy with 4 different types of cancer and deaths from high blood pressure, deaths from stroke. Let's look at the numbers. This first chart here shows the incidence of liver and bile duct cancer, liver and bile duct cancer. The red line, which you'll see going across the chart, is incidence of these types of cancer when Roundup has been applied to corn or soy, whether it was genetically engineered or not. The blue line shows rates of cancer when people have consumed genetically engineered corn and soy. So you can have naturally occurring corn and soy that's had Roundup sprayed on it, and or you can have genetically engineered corn and soy that has or has not had Roundup applied to it. That's what the red and the blue lines signify. The yellow bars, the vertical bars on this chart, are the incidence of the different types of cancer. Now, interestingly, on this chart, you'll see a green bar going across at about a 35-degree angle. That green bar represents the incidence of, in this case, liver and bile duct cancer that we would expect to be happening from historical trends. What we would expect to see happening from historical trends. And this, of course, is juxtaposed to the increased incidence of these types of cancer when people are eating genetically modified corn and soy, and or corn and soy that have been sprayed with the herbicide Roundup. You can see in this case, liver and bile duct cancer, a remarkable correlation between the two. Next on the list, kidney cancer. It's a similar list. It's harder to see the trend here, but the trend exists. The incidence of kidney cancer has increased since the introduction here of genetically engineered corn and soy, and or the consumption of corn and soy that has been applied, sprayed with Roundup. Bladder cancer. This is an easier trend to see. Bladder cancer here skyrocketing. Bladder cancer, that's not good. So far we have liver cancer, kidney cancer, bladder cancer. That can't be good. Thyroid cancer as well. Now this is interesting because you see the green bar here is the trend. The trend, it's a vertical trend. There wasn't really any increase in the incidence of thyroid cancer. But then we start eating genetically modified corn and soy, and or corn and soy that has Roundup sprayed on it. Boom, dramatic rise in thyroid cancer. Deaths from high blood pressure. Deaths from high blood pressure. Another dramatic correlation here. You can see the green bar going across, which is what we would expect from past historical trends. Since genetically engineered corn and soy and Roundup have been applied to these products, a startling increase. And last but not least, deaths from stroke. You can see, again, a remarkable increase. Now, any one of these increased incidences would be enough to stay away from this stuff, right? But when you put them all together, it makes genetically engineered corn and soy, and or corn and soy that's been sprayed with Roundup, the biggest, baddest voodoo daddy of them all. Now, in the United States, believe it or not, it's not that easy to discover whether or not your corn or your soy, which is labeled organic, is actually organic. So you have to do your homework. Whole Foods, interestingly enough, has a very good labeling system through which they help you, the consumer, determine whether or not, or the extent to which, the food that you think is organic actually is organic. Unless you grow your vegetables and fruits yourself in the United States, it is virtually impossible to tell whether or not it has in fact been genetically engineered. Moral to this story is just avoid corn and soy unless you know for sure it's not genetically engineered, it's heirloom corn and soy, and absolutely positively it's not been sprayed with the pesticide Roundup. Interestingly enough, this should also extrapolate into corn syrup, which the food industry is putting in just about everything these days. So I'm making the assumption here that if pesticide Roundup applied to corn and soy does this, I would also assume that the pesticide applied to tomatoes and avocados and oranges and grapefruits and spinach and every other vegetable and fruit would have similar results. That's an extrapolation. I haven't seen the science, but remember, if it looks like a duck, flies like a duck, quacks like an MD, you should stay away from it. For goodness sakes, go organic, ladies and gentlemen. Educate yourself about what really is organic and what is suspect. And for goodness sakes, my recommendation, stay the heck away from corn and soy. In addition to the other 10 bad foods, nutrify your body every day with the 90 essential nutrients. Live long and prosper. Thanks for your attention and your time. I'll see you around campus.